Uganda's 73-year-old president has a plan to rule forever. "This is a generational cause," says Bobi Wine, back in his studio after a long day in Parliament. In June, the singer and self-styled ghetto president, real name, Robert Kyagulanyi, won a sensational victory in a parliamentary by-election. Now he is the spokesman for Uganda's frustrated youth in a struggle to stop Yoweri Museveni, the actual president, from extending his rule. "All the power has been packed onto the presidency," he says. "We want to take it back to the people." Mr. Museveni used to say similar things himself, blaming Africa's problems on leaders who want to overstay in power. But after 31 years at the top, he has changed his mind. Politicians in his ruling party are trying to scrap a clause in the constitution which says candidates must be no older than 75 to run for president. The goal is to let Mr. Museveni, 73, stand again in 2021, and probably rule for life. Latest updates. A pastor becomes a pawn in a spat between America and Turkey. Erasmus. 15 hours ago. Another job opening in the Trump administration. Democracy in America. A day ago. The UK Independence Party elects a former Liberal Democrat candidate as its new leader. Britain. A day ago. Roads are becoming more deadly in developing countries. Graphic detail. 2 days ago. Winnie the Pooh brought joy to readers, but misery to the Milnes. Prospero. 2 days ago. Ukraine's aviation sector is holding the country back. Gulliver. 2 days ago. See all updates. There were fistfights and flying chairs on September 26 as Mr. Museveni's supporters tried to start the process in Parliament. The opposition stalled things by incessant singing of the national anthem. The next day, MPs such as Mr. Wine were dragged out of the chamber by security forces and the proceedings began. The amendment needs a two-thirds majority to pass, and almost certainly will. The ruling National Resistance Movement, NRM, has a thumping majority and most MPs are pliable. The legislature has helped Mr. Museveni out once before, voting in 2005 to remove term limits. On that occasion MPs were each given 5 shillings, then about $2,500, officially to facilitate discussions with constituents. Still, the state is taking no chances. 3/4 of Ugandans want the age limit to stay, according to a survey in January by Afrobarometer, a Pan-African research network. Demonstrations have been banned. Police have tear-gassed protesting students and raided the offices of 2 civil society groups. The mayor of Kampala, the capital, who opposes the bill, was arrested in the middle of a television interview and bundled into a police van. This is not the fundamental change that Mr. Museveni promised when he took power in 1986 at the head of a rebel army. He was towards stability to most of the country, which had been torn apart by dictatorship and war. Simeon Zbuga, an NRM MP, says Ugandans should be grateful to Mr. Museveni for ending 20 years of turmoil, suffering and killings. Many are. But 4 out of 5 Ugandans are too young to remember those days. Instead, the young complain about crumbling services and too few jobs. For the first quarter-century under Mr. Museveni, growth in income per person averaged 3% a year. In the past 5 years it has been just 1%. Yet few dare take their grievances to the streets. Even the young live under the canopy of history, notes Angelo Izama, a local pundit. Uganda has never had a peaceful transition of power, and few citizens think Mr. Museveni would ever leave office without a fight. The old warrior sometimes dons his uniform, a reminder that this is still, in some respects, a military regime. Last November over 150 people were killed during army operations in the restless Rwenzori Mountains. Meanwhile Mr. Museveni is the pivot on which power turns, intervening in everything from land disputes to the regulation of motorbike taxes. When a minister showed up recently to address local leaders, they hurled water and chased him away. Only the president would do, they said. There are no institutions, says Anna Eg, a 25-year-old MP. Everything can be changed by a phone call. So the old man with the hat will carry on, at once the guarantor of stability and the greatest threat to it. The age limit clause is the last remaining check to ensure an orderly succession, says Frederick Sempedwa, a lawyer who helped draft the Constitution. Without it, he adds, the president is almost invincible. Yet one day Mr. Museveni will die and Uganda, its politics warped by the whims of one man, will face uncertainty once again. This article appeared in the Middle East and Africa section of the print edition under the headline No Country for Young Men.